Welcome to a special Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network presented by Run Try Bike. I have a very special guest today. Mariah Zavala will be joining me, and I have had the pleasure, along with Lori, to meet Mariah at the Every Woman's Marathon this past weekend. And it was super awesome to get to know her and meet her, and honestly get to be a part of the Rising Hearts movement that took place in Scottsdale during that Every Woman's Marathon. But before I bring her on, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. I am asking you for 5 stars, but if you're inclined to give us anything less than 5 stars, please email me, jason@runtrymag.com, so that you can let me know how we can get better at making this show what you want. And lastly, don't forget about the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. It is $15 a year or $25 for a lifetime. Come and join us. Get to be part of one of the most supportive clubs that is out there on the internet. We'll be announcing our Run Club tour here really soon. We have some great opportunities for 2026 amongst things that are happening today. Discounts from our marketing partners. Our Slack channel is always alive and conversations everywhere. And you don't forget, you'll also get a welcome box from us when you join the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. So go to runtrymag.com, hover over shop at the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. We'll drop down, click on it, and you can go from there. So without any more hesitation, let's bring Mariah on and let's have a fun conversation. My friend, how are you?
I'm so excited to be here. Hola, Jason.
I am excited to have you on the show too, but let me tell you something. I get nervous every time I go to say your first name, not your last name. I have to repeat it in my head before it comes out of my mouth.
I appreciate that so much, and it's hilarious because I can't tell you how butchered my last name has been all over the years. I've gotten Sabala, Zalava, and just like kind of just gets discarded. And so I'm pretty stoked. That part, when it's pronounced right, really, really excites me. But I do appreciate you nailing the Mariah part of it. I am Maria, but for my relatives who only speak Spanish and depending on the mood, but it is Mariah. It is Mariah. I worked hard to learn how to write that H when I was little.
And trust me, as a person whose last name is Bahamundi, it means everything when people pronounce your name correctly. So I
Mhm.
am there with you. I want to give people some quick background. So you are Yaqui, Oaxacan, and Puerto Rican.
Yes.
And the conversation I want to have with you today is about your cultures and the mixture of cultures that you have, but also being a female in today's world. None of the things that you represent are easy to represent in today's world. So I want to get into that a little bit because our whole premise for our shows is to highlight and showcase multiple cultures, should give people a platform to take up space and show others that I belong here just as much as you fucking do. So,
Mhm.
that's really what I want to get into today with you. I do want to ask you this. When it comes to speaking languages, like where do you go first? Like what's the most natural language, or does it depend on who you're talking to?
I think it depends. So I'll greet you formally like I'm supposed to. Los samchanya vu, kechamalea, inapo Mariah, buenas tardes, hello, saying hello in Yaqui, our traditional language of Yoeme, and in Spanish, because I am Oaxacan and Puerto Rican, and just in English for all the other people who might not know those. But I grew up with English as my first language, and my mom is bilingual, and she speaks beautiful Spanish. But my mother, who is I'm Yaqui and Oaxacan from her, and my grandmother was a full-blooded Yaqui woman. She knew some of the language, but spoke mostly Spanish. But because my mom was born in the 70s in Fresno, California, all of the racial tension that existed at that time, and just like many people of that era, they were taught very much to be Americanized. So they spoke Spanish behind closed doors, and if they were speaking Spanish, like my mom and my tias got put into ESL classes, English as a second language, which was silly because they spoke English and just all these different things. So I didn't get to grow up with Spanish as my first language. It wasn't natural for my mom to do it. but she spoke enough Spanish for when we were in trouble, when she was feeling really passionate about things. So when I was in middle school or high school, or around cousins, or like growing up in Tucson, where majority of the folks are of the Latinx community, it was just like really natural for me to listen to. And I studied Spanish all through high school, and I did some in college. And so I was very fluent for a little bit, and I ended up working at like a Nike store where they put me in the kids section because they heard me like speak it once, and they're all, "That's it, you're all day, every day." It's like, okay, and I loved it, and I was so proud of being able to do that because you do get to connect in a different way, and it's a gift to be able to do that, right? Because you know that there's so many people who are coming from Mexico or who grew up with Spanish as a first language, and so being able to connect and not like make somebody and force them to be uncomfortable to just speak this language that
Yes.
everybody has to speak because it's the US. It was such a gift to do that. But when I moved to Flagstaff in 2019, it is the use it or lose it. So it's not as natural for me anymore. But I find that when I'm with people I'm really comfortable with, it just like it's buried back there and it'll just spill out.
Yeah.
And then back in the days when I used to drink, I'd go hit the bars after a certain number of drinks. I would just like become fluent again. I was like, oh, wow, I guess I do know what to say.
It's hilarious.
So it's back there. It's back there. And I'm hoping my goal for 2026 is to have more conversations with my mom in Spanish and my siblings and find more Spanish speaking friends to do it because it is a gift to be able to be bilingual. It's unfortunate that the culture of the US is like to shame people who have it, but the knowledge of being
Oh,
able
it's
to speak that many languages and connect that way,
yes.
it's amazing. So, I feel really good about listening to it, not speaking as well as I used to.
It's a, I think about the level of intelligence that it takes
Mhm.
to speak a language that is not your native tongue,
Yep.
right? And being able to process the, from one language to the next is absolutely amazing to me. You said the language for Yaqui is what?
Yeah, so, it's Yoeme.
Yoeme?
So, yeah, an analogy would be, well, that's what we would describe it as, but it's like the traditional word for it. So, for Navajos, they're known as Dene. That is the traditional word in their language to describe their tribe. So for Yaquis, it's Yoeme.
So you use the word tia, which is
Yeah.
Spanish for ant.
Mhm.
Is there a Yoeme word for ant?
Yes, there is, and I should know it. I am not as
I didn't mean
fluent
to put you on
in
the
Yaqui.
spot.
No, this is good. My mom has been trying to learn the language a lot. So our tribe is very small. I think we have only like 22,000 members, and our tribe's been working really hard for language revitalization. And so it's not as accessible to find teachers to teach the language, but there are some words that like we should know that I don't quite know because I'm learning now. But for maternal aunt, it's I probably not pronouncing it right, but it sounds like it's Ha'avi, which is Haavi. And then for your paternal aunt, Chilia. But I could be pronouncing that wrong. So to my Yoame relatives listening, forgive me, con permiso. I'm so sorry. I'm trying.
Yeah, please correct us so we can learn. I think
Yes.
that's the thing, right? When we're open-minded enough to be corrected because
Hmm.
we want to learn and foster, relationships, language, things like that, it becomes much easier to hear the quote
Hmm.
unquote criticism. It makes a big difference in that space. Speaking of space,
Yep.
again, you are here to take up space as an indigenous woman, as a Hispanic woman. How hard, and be as blunt as you want to be very honest. How hard is it to take up space some days?
Uh, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, and asking me now in 2025 at the age of 29, on average, I would give it like a 6 to an 8. And on really bad days, it can feel like a 10. And I referenced to today in time because if you had asked me 5 years ago when I was younger and definitely a little bit more fiery and just still learning how to even what we joke about, and I don't know if you heard, if you use this term anymore, but the code switch of
Oh
like,
yes.
right, of code switching. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, I would have said it felt like a 7 to a 10 all the time. But now that I'm older and I've adapted to that more, it doesn't feel as strenuous. But in recent political climates, for the first time in a long time since I was that age, or even 10 years ago, it's leaned more to that like 7 to 8 range of feeling like, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing. And who am I showing up as right now? And how do I show up? And I feel like it's always this game of chess because we want to be unapologetically ourselves and authentically ourselves all the time. And that means saying things like, no, I'm not in this position, or I don't have this set of skills because of historical trauma, generational trauma, because of colonization and like rich white people that destroyed all these homes and genocide, and like having to go down this trail, versus being really reserved and saying things like, I'm just so grateful to be here and to be the one who gets to be here, and what an opportunity, and sugarcoating things in that way. I think it you're always fine tuning that skill set on how to show up in the room without upsetting people and still honoring like who you are. It can be really, really hard. And so now I feel confident in how I can do that. But in recent political climate and air, it's a little more hot, a little more
Yeah,
difficult to
I don't
manage.
I don't disagree with you, but I think both things can be true.
Yeah.
I believe that we can be grateful for the things that we do have while
Mhm.
simultaneously pointing out the injustices that take place in life.
Yep. Mm.
Um, because the only way that the person behind us is going to be able to have a greater appreciation of more things is if we stand on the shoulders of the people who stood up before us,
Mhm.
right? Like, it, I don't think it's our responsibility to change the world immediately. I
Mhm.
think it's our responsibility to start to change the world so that when our cousins and nieces and nephews and those that are younger than us come up,
Mhm.
they are able to have a slightly easier time than we did, and we have a slightly easier time than our parents did. So I think both things can be extremely true in this scenario. And I'm wondering if there was an influence, what maybe one thing, a catalyst that you saw or experienced that said, I need to speak up more often.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I'm just so excited for the timing of getting to connect with you, because just the different events and the community stuff I've been able to be part of in the last few weeks, I've been blessed to be able to like reflect a lot. I would say on the last like 10 or 15 years of my life, from like school and college. And I think it might have been in high school, or at least when I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today and things that may came up, this specific story did in my mind because of the marathon yesterday. So in high school, I did track and cross country, and it was really great. I went to like kind of like an inner city public school, and that's just an easy way to describe it in the part of Tucson that I was in. And maybe other people would call it something else, but it was just like a poor public school. I love it. I love being a Panther. I loved going to Amphi High. I met my best friends there, and I learned a lot there. And you just don't know you're at a poor public school until you're in your 20s and you say things to other kids, and they're like, that's what you ate for lunch every day? Like, "Oh, you guys didn't do that even." Oh, oh my gosh, I didn't go to a good school. What are you talking about? I had great teachers, but, because of the kind of school I was at, we had turnover in our track and cross country teams, like, all the time, and we had this one track coach for semester. I think I was a junior or something, and I remember I was running with my hair down. Me and my buddy who's, Hopi and Navajo. I realize now there was only a handful of us as Native kids, but most people, I think, thought of me as, like, just Mexican, which is fine. I was like a teenager and I wasn't even thinking about all these things yet. And I ran with my hair down because I was starting to learn more about myself and my culture. And, my mom was working on the reservation on the Basco Yaqui tribe res, over in New Pascua. And she was leaning so much into our culture and was just so proud. And like we should be proud of who we are, and this is what happened to our people. And hair is such a um, personal and cultural thing to us. And I was like, you're right. Like, this is my gift. And I remember it was just like a workout. I ran with my hair down because I was like, man, I really just like need this today. And I need like to draw extra strength for something. And I'm sure I also forgot a rubber band. And I remember my coach that, I mean, it feels like really intentional now, but I imagine as a 16-year-old kid, there were other circumstances. But I remember that coach taking me to the side, and he was this white guy who was really conservative, and I've learned more about him since. And just to be kind, I don't feel the need to name names, but I remember he took me to the side and was like, "What are you doing? And why do you look like that? And why are you presenting yourself this way?" And I was like, "Whoa, what do you even mean? Like I'm native and like I'm Mexican and I'm these things." Like I just ran with my hair down. I thought it just felt good for me. Well, we're a team, and like you can't show up that way, and that's embarrassing. And he just was like berating me about how almost shameful it was for me to do that. And I remember being so angry, but confused because you're a teenager and not really sure why you're upset about it. And I remember going home and telling my mom, and she was just so just fired up. All I know how about it. She was like, "Are you joking? Why would he say that to you? Like, there's a way to go about it." And he just like shamed you for practicing who you are, essentially. And I can't help but at least at this moment, when looking back on all these years, to feel like that's what was starting to push me to be like, oh wow, like it's at that time, if I was 16, it was 13 years ago. It was like 2012. I was like, we're not in the 70s or 80s, and I'm getting like flack for just wanting to present who I am. It started to make me think a lot more, and I started to become a little bit more like fiery after that, and more like I I am who I am, and I want to like dig my heels in and keep showing people. And I imagine like being a 16-year-old teenager too, like when somebody tells you no, you just want to
Yeah.
go
Hmm.
ahead and go up against the grain anyways. But after that, I came across more instances that way, from clothing or the way my hair looked at jobs. Or I had another coach with similar experiences like that when I was at college at Pima Community College. And it just kept pushing me to, well, I won't say it kept pushing me, it kept reminding me how little of us there are in this space, that people feel comfortable enough to
Yeah.
just treat you like a second class citizen,
Yeah.
really, is what it felt like. And I remember for a little while, I just being a pleaser, or like, not wanting to stir the pot, which I think even a lot of our communities um, lean into for the means of like survival, right? From
Hmm.
all the historical trauma. I think I made excuses even of like, oh well, he was a coach, and maybe I should have said this. And oh well, as a kid, and this and that. And now that I'm older, I'm like, actually, now that I'm a full grown adult and I see a man doing it to a little girl in front of me, that's actually wildly inappropriate. And actually,
Yeah.
this was inappropriate. And yeah, we got to keep pushing into this space, because people, even now, 10 years later, still feel comfortable to just say things that way and treat others. And it's not even so much that it was with less than. I mean, I was a poor kid, and I could see how it was easy to feel like I could be treated however, because my parents weren't available because they were working while my mom was. Is just really interesting. So I would say, like, reflecting that moment, I can just, it was like a domino effect for me to keep like standing up and trying to be more loud and be more rowdy and leave my hair down. And it's part of why I did at the Every Woman's Marathon, because it's almost my way of like saying, fuck you, coach. Here I
Yeah.
am 10 years later, and you made it seem like I was going to turn into some burnout loser if I didn't listen to you. And I've run a marathon and I'm
Yeah.
successful. Not that he takes up any space, but really to anybody,
Yeah.
right?
100%. I mean, I'm thrilled for you
Mhm.
that while it was a negative impact in a way, it empowered you, because it wasn't until I was about 46 or 47 years old, about 5 years ago, that Lori said to me, "You're Puerto Rican. You need to be Puerto Rican." Because, and I've told this story before, I grew up in the Bronx, and my parents, um, did their best. They moved us out of the Bronx, where I was going to school with, Jose's, Juan's, and Maria's, and now we're going to schools with Jennifer's, Tyler's, and Kevin's. And I was like, this is fucking odd. Like, what
Yeah.
happened?
Mhm.
And so I tried to assimilate, work my way in there, and then make my way through corporate America. And Lori was like, "You have to be Puerto Rican. That's who you are." And it was empowering to hear somebody tell me to be who I am. And then that ball starts rolling. And so a couple of months ago, we celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month. You're now helping me celebrate Native American Heritage Month. And I can tell you the impact that those videos have had, the Hispanic ones, the videos that you're providing, because it's allowing people to see themselves in these spaces and say, if they can do it, I can too. Um, and I know I told you this on Friday night, but I got a message on Instagram from an Indigenous male athlete who asked if we were still taking submissions. And it was absolutely yes, please do. And it's because he saw the videos that you have helped arrange for us. And Brandon and Carly at the house said to me, "Is it too late to submit videos?" And I said, "No, I want to submit them, and I don't want to just end it, when November 30th rolls around. Like,
Mhm.
let's keep celebrating." And so I think it's amazing that you got that catalyst for empowerment as a teenager, and it continues through to today. And Lori and I noticed you running with your hair down, and it was something that we commented on, not because you were running with your hair down for a political statement, but
Mhm.
we were like, that's got to be hard to run with, honestly. Yeah. Look, like, I don't have any problem. But the other thing that I noticed is, and please correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
but you were wearing a traditional dress during the run.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, I'm like, that's fucking cool, man. Like, to be able to show other people that there is an athlete who's participating in this marathon as an example and a leader, so that they can follow in your footsteps. Like what's the rationale that you're going through in your mind to wear it? Is it to um, represent? Is it to honor your ancestors? Is it to be a leader and show those who are following that they can do it too? Is it all of the above?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I definitely would say all of the above, and it's also it's also a gift. Like, I was looking at those pictures today, and I was looking at that skirt, because first off, I was pretty excited to find a skirt because 'cause I'm so little. It was a children's skirt that's meant to be worn traditionally down to the ankles for, like, a little girl, but it fit me very not like a little girl. It was just right to as a running skirt. Because I don't know if you've seen a lot of other native runners, like Dene runners. I think I've seen some Hopi runners who have attended these races, like Native Women Running or Rising Hearts, or just other folks who have ran that are indigenous have the ribbon skirts, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
But Yoeme people, Yaqui people, our traditional skirts are very similar to like Oaxacan or other tribes in Mexico with like traditional embroidering. And it's really hard to find folks who are still practicing that art, even like, oh my, you would think that my mom and I are talking about a drug deal when we're gonna go buy skirts. We're like, oh man, Rosa's out there. They said, she's on the corner over here. Man, we better go. Did you get your cash? Did you go to the ATM? Like, it's so silly. And if you're listening, Tia Rosa, we love your skirts, but we do because she comes from Mexico and she like hand makes them. And so, and a lot of our relatives also just like don't have access to resources we do. So it's not as easy as hitting somebody up on Instagram to get a handmade skirt that way. So when I was preparing for Cocodona earlier this year, I kept telling my mom, I was like, how can we find one? Even trying to convince my mom to bust out her sewing skills to make one. And she was like, oh, that's a lot of work. And it was creator's blessing that we found the perfect one to fit. And it was actually super comfortable to wear for me. But I just kept thinking about all the people before me who weren't even allowed to have like long hair and were getting their hair cut in boarding schools, and thinking about people who had like their clothes tarnished and destroyed because they couldn't wear traditional clothes, or even now in like 2020s you have kids getting um berated and in trouble at school for wearing their regalia at their graduation. And so it's definitely all of the above of what you said, but also a gift to do that. And definitely like a form of resistance of like we can be here and we can reclaim this space, and we can have our long hair and we can wear our traditional clothes, and we can be in places that really aren't that accessible for us still because of historical trauma. But a part of like what started it was a few years ago I had some life events happen in 2023, and it prompted me to start using running again as a platform for murdered missing indigenous people. And in our culture, whenever we make promises that way, essentially to like creator or for bigger things like this, sometimes it's to go attend ceremony or things like that. It's always in threes. So getting to be out there and not only in my traditional clothes but with the red handprint is like my commitment to my community, to creator, and my people, of like being there in this holistic way of wearing our traditional clothes and advocating like this is who we are, and we're not afraid to show you who we are, especially because I mean, I'm reading articles about kids. Like, I think there was a running school team that was discouraged to even go for their after school run because of ice and things like that. Like, it feels so much more powerful to do now than it did a year or two ago, even. And I'm incredibly grateful to be able to do that. And so it was really special. And I think looking back at pictures, I don't think I saw anybody in a skirt besides myself at this one, which was unfamiliar to me because I'm so blessed to live in northern Arizona,
Yeah.
Flagstaff, where there's so many indigenous people. Like, I'm just used to seeing other relatives in their clothes or at races that way. I forget that everywhere is not Flagstaff and everywhere is not northern Arizona. And so that was pretty profound to be at that race where I'm sure there were, I think, like 1,000 runners. I don't know how many runners there were. I'm pretty sure it was.
7,000 was the what I saw on the website.
Oh my gosh. And to be one of the only people in a traditional skirt felt like, whoa, I had zero clue until it was done. And it was awesome. And the rain, everything, it was, yeah, a total gift, and definitely in honor of like ancestors. And I thought a lot about my grandma when I was out there. And I'm pretty sure like I even saw her at mile 5, which was profound. And I think those blessings get invited when you, I guess, dress yourself that way or put yourself in almost like a sacred space that way. Because like my mom's always taught me to not wear traditional clothes that way unless you're moving in a good way. Like, you can't be, drinking or
Right.
out in the streets or anything in that clothes, things like that. So, it sounds so funny hearing her say it because she would say it like a mom would or like a tia or something. But it is true. Like, when you put that on, you're wearing stuff that's been worn traditionally for hundreds of years and
Yeah.
so long. Like, I think you do channel some kind of spiritual energy from your ancestors and your creator. And so I think I was able to attract my grandma to come say hi to me in mile 5, like in the form of a hummingbird. It was really powerful. It was awesome. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm going to say this to the people who may feel uncomfortable
Hmm.
about some of what you're talking about. I was you at one point. You mentioned the murdered, missing, and indigenous red handprint on
Hmm.
your face, and you ran with it, and Jordan ran with it as well.
Hmm.
And I remember the first time seeing it, I felt uncomfortable because I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what I could do. And then a couple of years ago, I had a conversation with Becky Croft because she posted something on Threads about Western states, the
Hmm.
race, and the indigenous people. And that led me to having conversations with Rebecca Bowman and Kelsey Long, which then led me to having conversations with Jordan and now with you. And I no longer feel comfortable, uncomfortable, I should say, when topics like this arise. And it's because I've educated myself.
Hmm.
And so if you see a picture of Mariah or Jordan or any other indigenous person running with the red handprint on your face, I get the uncomfortableness. I get you might have heard something in this conversation that makes you feel uncomfortable. But take that uncomfortability and be inquisitive about it. Become curious and ask questions. And so I want to take this moment to ask you, when we connected and I asked you if you could help me get videos of indigenous everyday athletes so that we could showcase them during Native American Heritage Month. Was there hesitancy? Like, because look, I'm Puerto Rican, sure, but I present as a white sheet of paper. I get it.
Mhm.
And my last name is not, Ortiz, even though
Yeah.
that's my mother's maiden name, but that's not
Yeah.
mine.
Mhm.
Like, was there hesitancy? Like, what does this guy really want? What is he trying to accomplish? Like, what's happening here?
I love that you're asking that question. And yeah, I mean, there was, but it wasn't as grand as if somebody who I hadn't met before would have been, and that's because a lot of it is like the proof is in the pudding, right? And that's kind of what I go by because I've had other folks who haven't even known me from Adam, just have reached out from a post they saw or following something else, and like, "Hey, could you do X, Y, and Z for me?" And I go and I do my homework. Like I go to see if they've done community events before or what boards they're sitting on or anything like that. And it's not a matter of clout, it's a matter of like it's the value of reciprocity. Like if they're giving back to the community and if they are showing up in a good way, or if they're calling on me because they see that I'm involved in so many things and it looks like I might just be an easy yes to get like some work done for them, really. And that happens to a lot of us in this space. And I imagine even you as a Puerto Rican person, looking for those other connections or things like that. But because you had already you know, you did the work. Like you said, you were going to support this big trip with Jordan and Rising Hearts. And you did show up and you didn't just show up for her. Like you showed up for me as an athlete without knowing me. And I thought it was actually really special that you asked for that support, and I took it as more of like an invitation to collaborate. And of course, because of the creative freedom you gave me, I was like, wow, this is actually really special because I can help celebrate other athletes that don't often celebrate themselves. So it was just like the cherry on top getting to meet you in person, especially with Angel there. Because even talking to my friends, right, I was like, hey, we're going to do this. And they're like, who and what? I'm like, it's okay. I promise. What? He's cool. He's cool. He's cool. He's good. I vetted him out. He's all right. He's all right. He's at least brown for sure. Super excited, and we put all this work in, and I kept telling her, I was like, well, we're gonna meet him in person and we'll know for sure, for sure. I go, if anything, like he for sure helps with the programming things, but I think I don't know what you would call it, if it's spiritual, if it's your gut check that you get from when you grow up in the hood or whatever it is, but there's always something that you feel when you meet somebody in person, even if all the boxes are checked on paper or whatever. And
Yeah.
when we got to meet you, I was like, you were everything I thought you were going to be and more. And Angel left and she too was like, he was so cool, and I'm even more happy we did that video. And I mentioned her because she has recently just rejoined the running space, and pobrecita, I'm just like, I got her and I was like, let's be friends. And then I kicked her in the ass and was like, come check out everything with me. And she doesn't really celebrate herself in that way. And so I've gotten to like gradually push her to do that. And she was just like so affirmed that what she did was the right thing to do for herself, to celebrate herself, but to support a kind human who is uplifting voices like that. And when you shared that story about other people reaching out, just affirms that like the collaboration we had was authentic and it was
Mhm.
what it was supposed to be. And it was as it's intended, because now you have other people who want to do it because they feel safe and seen to do it. So
Yeah.
very a little bit there, like scale 1 to 10 again, maybe like a 3 or a 4. And then there was, yeah, once we met, it was done. Especially the fact that you came out for the race. That
Yeah.
was really cool.
It's is interesting because Lori is white, she's Caucasian, but she grew up in the inner city as well. And so I think like when you have connections to people through different scenarios, the collaboration, the coalition that gets formed start to have many different faces, right? And then when you show up for other people because you have so many different faces, that is powerful. Like that becomes really, really powerful because then you can start to bring other people in. And I think it's just really damn cool to see all of that unfold literally right before our eyes. I mean, there's just no other way around it. Um, One of the things that going to that house on Friday led me to was meeting Carly and Brandon telling me that he as a coach at one of the high schools on the reservation, and how they won the Arizona State Championship in cross country. And that is like, holy cow, like amazing. And yet, and maybe it's because we live in California, the story that doesn't get told. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, sure, you live in Flagstaff and you might have gotten the news, but how does that news get out? How do we help get that news out? Whether it's through you, whether it's through a platform like ours, like how do we make that happen?
Yeah, and that's that is a hard one, and that was just in case Callie listens. It was Callie Curley, and Brandon Dugat.
Yes.
No worries though, but she's gonna be excited she got mentioned. Just kidding. They're great. They're such super awesome runners and just super awesome humans. But I think it's difficult to get that out. And I'm gonna say, like, the thing you're not supposed to say is because they're not a group of like white kids with affluent parents and with this like other connections or donors or whatever it is you need to get on the front page of a newspaper and get notoriety. I think that's a big part of why it doesn't make it out, because here in Northern Arizona, like everybody knows about it. It's almost like not like the Super Bowl, but all of my native friends were like, "Yeah, we're going to the meet if we're going to go do this," and the kids are running. Like it's such a big deal because the communities here take so much pride, and even and of course in other cities throughout Arizona too, if you're on a track or cross country team in that space. But other than that, it's so limiting, and I think it's just because people overall don't even know that Native Americans still exist. Like it's insane that that story in itself is still like getting erased in history classes and things like that. So it is a matter of just connecting with folks who are willing to reshare it, whether it's utilizing your platform or any of us reposting and resharing or anything like that to keep pushing it out, because major media outlets are just, they have no interest
Yeah.
in telling a story like that, because who wants to hear about the res kids who have so little resources, are just phenomenal athletes. And it amazes me that more of them aren't like sponsored athletes or right away get pushed into that space after high school. And it's just because there is still this norm that I think a lot of brands and I think culture and society need to have, that still doesn't include brown kids, doesn't include native kids, Puerto Rican kids, and it's hard to get over there and push that. And so it's definitely a collective effort to keep telling people like we're here.
We need to change the narrative. And look, I'm one of the most impatient, patient people you will meet. Like I want to do everything yesterday,
Yep.
but I know change takes time. But like the narrative in the media, like think about the TV shows that we have watched or the movies that we
Mhm.
have seen, right? Black and brown people are always the perpetrators, right?
Yeah.
We're the criminals. We're the ones going to prison,
Yeah.
or selling drugs or things like
Or
that.
in recovery, we go to prison and then we come
Yeah,
out and they're like, "Oh, look, it's the Mexican dad who went and wants to come and take care of his kids again." What a heartfelt story.
right.
Never anything sweet.
And the reality is we're all humans, and this shit happens
Mhm.
across all cultures. Like, give me a
Yep.
break. And so, hopefully we can get more people of color into positions, or maybe they start their own businesses these days, because it's not easy to start your own business in terms of money and financing, but it's easier to get your own platform and start sharing the stories of the things that we are doing. Like Lori and I watched this show called Reasonable Doubt on Hulu, and it is an African American family. She's an attorney, and the husband, is a coder for video games.
Mhm.
And like, it looks just like every other show, except that the people are black, right? Like, just flip them, and it looks like everything else. And that's the reality of life, right? Like, and so I hope that we can continue to share the stories that showcase the athletes that and the people that in a way that is not the way we grew up with media. Like I asked this question of Santino. I said, when you think of Native Americans and Indigenous people, like what's the first thing that comes to mind for you? And his answer was what I suspected, which was the old Western movies that we would see growing up.
Mm.
Right? That's the
Yep.
that's the vision that we have.
The old Western movies where they had white people painting their faces to be Native people,
Yes.
right? They weren't
Right.
even like real Native Americans.
And think about that. Like, I'm 52 years old. Like, that's the vision that we have. And I think Santino is 42 years old, and that's the vision. And so we need to change it so that the vision we have is the kids at the cross country meet are winning, and they're going on to start companies and businesses and
Yep.
philanthropic projects and things of that nature. And I hope that we have a say in that based on what you have helped me and Lori and I put together through celebrating Native American Heritage Month in November. And I want to ask you, like, you have a full-time job.
Mhm.
You are an athlete who has to run, training for a marathon and other things. Like, how do you balance all of this where you want to showcase your cultures, but you have these other things that are happening in life? Like, how do you balance it all? And do you get down when you're like, I haven't done enough?
Yeah. Yeah, I do, and I would say this past season has been quite a stormy season for that because of the political climate. I'm incredibly blessed to live where I live right now in Flagstaff, which is a pretty I would call it a pretty progressive town. There's still a lot of things they need to change, but I think about other cities in other places of the country, and I'm pretty dang fortunate to be somewhere where I do feel pretty safe. I mean, even with all the ICE stuff going on, I haven't really had to stress out about that, but, like, my mom and my siblings down in Tucson have. But even with all of that, you just see things that feel so performative that when you're, like, doing community work, helping host events, or you're pushing something, uh, trying to change that narrative and things like just anything recent in political climate that's happened occur, and you see other people who you consider your friends, allies, or colleagues that are in support of some of the things that are very very bluntly not supportive of indigenous communities or vulnerable communities or anything like that. It's really heartbreaking, and you have to remind yourself that it is a marathon and not to sprint. And unfortunately, I mean, shit, I don't even know if I could say it was a marathon. It's like a super horrible ultra run. It's like the Cocodona 250. The Cocodona 250 that DNF'd at 50 miles because it was like 13,000 feet of elevation gain in the first 40. Like it is hard. It is really, really hard. But through community and other people who are willing to show up with you and invest with you, I think is the motivation for it. And the simple fact that it is a responsibility that we have to have. I had this conversation with my mom in the summer because we just finished our trip where we took our kids out rafting from the res and what I do there with my nonprofit there. And the trip was finished, and we were having a nice heated, passionate brown person conversation where we were expressing ourselves, but really loud and with a bunch of Spanglish and maybe Yaqui words in there, and just like exhausted. And, she asked me that same question. She was like, why are you doing all of these things? And I was like, I just feel like it's not enough. And it's funny because I think she was trying to go into that conversation to say, like, "You should do less, and you're my daughter, and I'm worried about you," but because she just finished her degree at that time from U of A in American Indian Studies, and she herself is trying to find work that is meaningful to do. She was like, "You know what? You're right." Like, the the overwhelming responsibility and expectation on our generation right now to try to keep reclaiming space and to keep, um changing the narrative and to change and protect our women, our children, our men, our families. It's just not the burden we have to carry. It's just what we do have to carry. It is just as it is because of colonization, and there's not anything we can do to change it. That responsibility, but what we can do is we can find more people to help us make it a less heavier of a lift. you know,
Yeah.
and it can feel like not enough very often, and it can be really exhausting. And there's definitely a lot of burnout in our spaces. And I can imagine even in what you do and work with, like uplifting different athletes like that and finding the people, but you know, experiences like the Every Woman's Marathon, experiences like just this one-on-one, even that message request you got from that was it a gentleman, I think,
Yes.
from that young man about submitting a video because he felt he had the courage and felt proud enough to talk about who he is and share his culture. That's what makes it worth it. It feels, you know, really small compared to these big boulders that we have to try to move and these mountains we have to move, but it still counts. Like it, every pebble, every rock,
Right.
every, you know, whatever it is, it counts to moving that mountain and like creating those bridges to get across adversity, you know. So yeah, the burnout is there, but these experiences is almost, it's almost addicting, right? Because
Yeah.
like, man, I'm so tired, I can't do it. And then we do this, I'm like, all right, I'm coming again, I'm going, I'll
Yep.
do it. You sign me up for 2 more years, you know.
That's right. And I said this to Michael Bridges, who goes by Mike Runs Marathons on Instagram. He is non-binary. He goes by he they,
Mhm.
and he is very vocal about not gatekeeping the running space, but also about
Mhm.
protecting all people, not just the queer community. And I said to him, I said, Mike, there's going to be moments when you're exhausted, and that's okay to take a step back. Just know somebody's going to come in and fill your space
Yep.
and be the vocal leader. And then when they get tired, they're going to step back and somebody else. And I likened it to when I used to ride bikes with big bike clubs. You would
Mhm.
have leaders and they would pull 10, 15, 20 cyclists at a time. And then when their legs got tired, they would peel off. And then the next person in line would come through and they would pull, excuse me. And you would stay at the same pace. You would just have a different leader in that moment, right? And so I think that that's the way people like yourself and myself have to look at this is like, look, I'm going to be out there with a megaphone for as long as I can be out there with a megaphone, but I'm going to get tired. I'm going to need to get rest and recover. I'm going to have to hand the megaphone to Mariah, and then she's going to, speak
Yes.
up, and then she's going to pass the megaphone to Jordan, and then to Lori, and so on and so forth, because that's the way we're going to continue to keep the momentum without fizzling out.
Absolutely. And you mentioned such a great point about I don't even think you said the word, but the word that came to mind was ego, you know, because I think sometimes it's ego and we get in our own ways. Like, oh,
Mhm.
this is, you know, this is the event I always lead, and this is what I always help with, and this is what I always do. And, you know, I know how to do it and I'm exhausted. And it's you know, the fear of letting go, right? And that it doesn't go as well. And also I think the fear of I don't know if I would call it becoming irrelevant, but just, like, not being able to show up 110%, I
Yeah.
think for some of us feels like saying we're not good enough or we're not enough, and when we remove that ego, you're right, we can let other people go in because the tomorrow is still gonna come and things are still gonna occur, nothing is gonna stop when we stop, so by building that community and the collaboration and being comfortable with letting other people come into the space is so helpful. Because unfortunately in our communities, even when we're trying to help each other, there is that gatekeeping that makes it
Yep.
so hard. Um, and that's just a matter of colonization, patriarchy, because always pitting us against each other, right?
Yep.
Because we are weaker when we're separate and stronger together. So, yeah, pit everyone against each other, tokenize, all of those things. So, when we peel off ego, then it feels a lot better because you're right. Like, I'm going to back because I got to recharge, but I know that Jason will be right there sharing these videos. Jordan's going to be there putting the group together. Somebody's still going to come and run the race, and somebody's going to do that. It is that is such a great reminder. I'm really happy you mentioned that and used that visual to describe it that way.
I think one of the so what we've been talking for about 50 minutes now, and we've talked about being indigenous, being Hispanic, but the one thing we haven't talked about is being female. And that's also a space, um, that needs to be taken up
Mhm.
by females. And like, again, there were, the website said 7,000 runners at the Every Woman's Marathon. And we saw men in there because it wasn't exclusively for women, but we saw like maybe 10 men. So I
Mhm.
was I said this to Lori at the race. I was like, thankfully, the 10 men that we showed up were just running. Like they didn't try to outshine the women
Yeah.
at this event, right? They weren't being assholes. Like, look at me, I'm running in an all women's race, haha, type of thing. What's it like to be a woman in, whether it's in your workspace or in the running space? Have you felt or seen a change in momentum where women are getting seen and heard more? Or do you think that not much has changed and we need to continue? Not that you're going to stop the fight, even if things have gotten a little bit better, but there's maybe there's a bigger fight because things haven't changed as much as you'd like.
Yeah. Ah, man, that's so good. I think we're having this conversation exactly when we're supposed to, because I've had so many experiences in the last 2 months that have made me think about that and ask myself that question. Because again, I'm so blessed to live in like where I live. And actually, sometimes it feels like a bubble because I get to be in this small town and I'm always with all these strong women. Like, comparatively to other places, I do think I'm in a great space that can be supportive for women, Native communities, and if anything, like our city and where I live is really trying. And then I have experiences like a few weeks ago. There was an issue with some person in town and it was work related. They were upset I didn't return an email or something like that. And then somebody had to call and was like, well, can you apologize? Blah, blah. And what ended up happening was I had to like shrink myself and I had to apologize. And initially I had no issue because I was like, oh, this is my friend and I don't want to, make him look bad. And there were positive intentions, but when I thought more about it, I was like, if I was a fucking white guy named Chad and I was 6'2" and I had a fucking 2-story house, I don't think this person or this other person would have been like, you need to apologize to me and you need to do this and you don't know who you are, because it would have been more like oh yeah, man, shit happens and you're busy and you're Chad and you've got a boat and you got this and that, like whatever it was. And that's exactly what I'm picturing. But because I'm Mariah, who's 4'8" and is this young brown girl who's an up and coming professional, I think it's really easy for people to still just feel entitled to say things like that to me and assume that they have the right to make me shrink and be
Yeah.
small. And it's moments like that where I'm like, wow, like people still think women need to make themselves whatever it is that they want them to be, because that's like just how it used to be, and why can't it be that way anymore? And so I think it can be really difficult still to to just be a woman here and be a woman that feels comfortable in her own body, because we're having to code, and it's a different code switch. I
Yes.
mean, I remember joking one time with a friend years ago, because he's so funny and he's black and white, and we're always talking about these different things, and he called me a double minority or something. I go, what? He's like, you're brown and you're a female. He's like, that is a double minority. You got to go through it twice as hard.
Yep.
At first I was like, nah, because I think as a Oaxacan person, as a Puerto Rican person or a Native person, we're never trying to play into the victim mindset because we grow up so tough from our parents and things. But in recent years, I've been like, actually, yeah, because not only do I have to code switch as my culture and how I show up in a room, but I also have to code switch as a woman, because men get so intimidated when you're too loud. And the number of times I've heard the word, well, you're intimidated when you go into a room and they're gonna act this way. I'm like, I'm 4 foot fucking 8. What do they think I'm gonna do? What do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna come and jump them? I was just laughing loud. And I
Yeah,
said
but
this
I
very
gotta interrupt you because like on the screen, nobody knows how tall you are.
yeah.
And you carry a presence. Like you have a presence.
Mm.
And when Lori and I walked into the house and you came running over, I was shocked. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. I was like, holy shit, like this person who has like a
Yeah.
7-foot presence
Yeah.
is less than 5 foot tall.
Yeah.
And Lori and I commented that when we walked out, how awesome it is that Angel has you, like you said earlier, like pushing her, kicking her into the
Mhm.
space. Because if people were to just see the two of you on the street, they would think the opposite, right? They
Yeah.
would think that she
Mhm.
was pushing you,
Mhm.
as instead of the other way around. So like you could say that in a joking manner and it's funny
Mhm.
as shit, but your presence is not 4'8". I'm telling you right
Thank
now,
you.
it's not.
Mhm. Thank you. And I do appreciate that. And even with that, it's just interesting that there are still people who will not just grab me, but other women to the side and say, like, "You're just, what you're saying is just intimidating, and how you're acting is this and that." And it's like, I'm just fucking hanging out, man. Like, let me just hang out. Let me just be this. Again, if I was some 6'1" white guy named Brad, nobody would even
Right.
say anything. They would just be
Nope.
like, that's just Brad.
Yep.
That's Mike. That's Walter. That's whatever, generic white guy name you want to insert there. Because like it's just bothersome, I
Yeah.
guess, to
It,
exist.
yeah. Like, I mean, Lori is like you. She's 5'2", maybe, but she
Yeah.
has the presence. Like
Mhm.
when she says shit, she means it.
Yeah.
There's, you're not going to misinterpret what she's talking about. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
And I think that again, I go back to this whole idea of being curious, and maybe you're uncomfortable hearing a 4'8" or a 5'2" woman talk and have presence, and that might make you feel uncomfortable. But talk to them, get curious, ask them questions, get involved, and then be part of the solution. And that uncomfortableness absolutely fades away. It
Yeah.
100% fades away when you get to be around people who are strong and powerful, because you become strong and powerful by proximity, in a sense. Because now you're like, I'm gonna say, because I know Lori or Mariah's got my back, right? Like I can
Absolutely.
fucking stand up because I know they got
Mhm.
my back in a way. So I
Yeah.
just think that that's, it's super powerful to do that. I want to be respectful of your
Mhm.
time. We're coming up on an hour. Um, I want to give you the floor a little bit before I get into some
Mhm.
food conversation, because
Cool.
I love eating,
Mhm.
and I love to investigate people's eating habits.
Mhm.
Where can people connect with you? You mentioned your nonprofit.
Mhm.
How can they help you? Where can they connect with you?
Yeah, feel free. I think a great starting point to try, because I'm trying to work on boundaries. Hit me up on Instagram. That's an easy one. My profile is public there at mzavala77726. I'm sure it'll be tagged in here. So feel free to give me a follow and message me if you want to collaborate. I am the founder of the Anya Collective, which is a organization dedicated to uplifting Indigenous youth. It's under a nonprofit called SPL Sports Inc., which has been partnered with the Yaqui tribe for internships in the summer. I started with them as an intern when I was 16 years old, 12 years ago, and I've branched off and created this program in the last few years. We take kids from the reservation, our Yaqui reservation, rafting in the summer, 10, 11 to 14-year-old kids. And we are now going to expand to continue education and leadership development on land, and hopefully grow it to be accessible to all Indigenous groups, underserved youth, things like that. And outside of that, Girls on the Run is so much fun if you want to learn about it. There are a lot of different roles I hold in town, but if you are just looking to find out how you can support underserved communities, especially Indigenous communities, girls, or just underrepresented, please reach out and I'll probably know somebody in mind if I'm not already hanging out on their board or volunteering for them. Always want to learn more and see how we can support in those ways. So feel free to give me a follow on Instagram or hit me up on Facebook. Either of those work.
Yep, we'll have it in the show notes. So, um, I I normally open the show with this question to for an icebreaker, but we've gotten to know each other over the last handful of weeks. We didn't need an icebreaker.
Mhm.
Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Yay.
Ah,
Yay. I think years ago I would have been an A, but whenever I see it now, I'll try it because I'm looking for the next best slice because you can do it right. It's done pretty wrong pretty often, but there is a right way to do it, and it's good.
okay, so how about this? What food can we take? And so I'm going to need two answers from your Native American culture and one from your Puerto Rican culture. Could we put on pizza to make it that next best slice?
Ooh. From the Yoeme culture, I mean, our food is very similar to like Latinx communities, so you can just get some like slow slow cooked brisket or something and top it on there or something with mole in it and throw it over and you'd be set. And then in my Puerto Rican culture, you know what, Jason, I might have to lean on you there for some inspiration because I've only recently looking for some mentors to help me learn more there. I'm Puerto Rican from my father's side, and I don't have any really affiliation with him. And so this is the year coming into 29. I want to learn all things Puerto Rican and go home one day and learn more. So what would be the topping?
Honestly, I don't eat meat anymore by choice these days, but if I were, it would have to be pernil, which is slow roasted pork. And you shred it, and you if you were to put that on a slice of pizza, I'd be in heaven without a doubt. I would be in
Gosh,
absolute heaven.
that sounds amazing.
So I can't ask you this question because you probably don't have an answer, but in my life and in my household, um, raisins in the picadillo. Picadillo is like ground beef with olives and garlic and seasoning and everything else. But like if you have a grandmother that puts raisins in the picadillo, go
Mhm.
find another house to eat at because like
Yeah.
you don't want
I think if you're putting raisins in anything besides eating them by themselves is like
you don't
not
want the raisins in the picadillo. You could take my Puerto Rican card, that's fine. Like I'm cool with it. But don't put it so like when you have empanadas or
Mhm.
pasteles and the picadillo has raisins in there, it's the worst surprise you could possibly imagine. You'd rather get socks on Christmas than have raisins in the picadillo.
That's awesome.
All right, we're huge fans of Oreos in this
Mhm.
house and in the Run Try Bike community. Are you an old school Oreo fan? Do you like the thins, the double stuff, the loaded, the cakester? If you had your druthers, you could pick whatever Oreo you wanted to eat. Where are you headed?
Uh, where am I headed with any Oreo?
Yeah, which one are you eating? Which one are you choosing?
Ooh, the double stuffed golden Oreo.
Oh, the
Oh,
golden.
oh, I do. I love me a good golden Oreo, which is funny because my sister's the opposite. She's like a cookie monster. She can eat Oreos all day since we were kids. Oh my gosh. But yeah, double stuffed golden Oreo. Uh, Probably a good easy snack for like travel.
Yes,
It's just nice, fun, comfort snack that you're
100%.
allowed to have at the airport when you're stuck there for 2 hours in that weird sterile, not sterile smell, like that Sky Harbor.
I've been there too many times. Your favorite non-chocolate candy is?
Ooh, um, gummy bears.
That's a great choice.
Yeah.
Do you have
Mhm.
a flavor? Do you have a preferred flavor?
The red ones.
Yeah, I'm a pineapple. Give me so I hate pineapple on pizza, but give me the pineapple gummy bears. I'm over the moon. What about your favorite chocolate candy?
These days, I have to be safe whenever I go because I finally leveled up and got a Sam's Club membership the past year, and they got the big, massive boxes of Ferrero shares. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. I feel like a queen. Like, I'm all, "Mom, I made it. Look, come over, open the shelf. I have 20 of these to just give out."
Like Samuel Jackson in Pulp Fiction when he
Yeah,
opens the briefcase, the gold.
exactly. I'm all, "Do you see? There's enough for there's 5 of us. We can each have 4."
That's awesome.
Yeah,
If are you an ice cream eater? Do you enjoy ice cream?
I
Yes.
do
Okay.
love ice cream. Mhm.
Favorite flavor is?
Oh, gun in my head, I'd have to go with just a classic vanilla.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's I mean, you can't go wrong with classic vanilla.
Yeah.
Is there
Mhm.
a particular brand?
Um, ooh, I really like the vanilla bean from, what is it? It's in that really Talenti.
Talenti? Yeah.
Madagascar vanilla bean.
Yeah, that's good
Mhm.
stuff.
I always think I'm sure it's the same thing as any vanilla, but when I see vanilla bean, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, oh my gosh, oh
Hey, Mo
goodness."
hey, Mojo Media, give this lady a raise. She's gotta be able to afford Talenti vanilla ice cream and Ferrero Rocher. Like
Yep.
we gotta hook her up.
In my fridge all the time for my guests.
When I was a kid, my mom would bring home the gallon of Breyers vanilla bean, and that was like the thing that like that's nostalgia for me. And like I wouldn't even use the ice cream scooper. Like that's pointless. So I'm gonna use an ice cream scooper to put it in a bowl when I could just use the spoon out of the
Yep.
container. I'm going that spoon out of the container every time.
I thought the ice cream scooper was such a like rich family thing because I was like, whoa, you want your ice cream to look nice before you eat it? And I always thought I'd get one as an adult. And I'm like, I'm just gonna even eat out of the tub because now I'm
That's
just
it.
here at home.
That's right.
Jason.
Yeah. Nobody needs extra shit in their kitchen, man. Get out of here.
Exactly.
I'm going straight in. All right. What do you have you eaten flan? Do you like flan?
I actually don't like flan. A friend of
Yes.
mine hit me up. He's Navajo. I love him so much. Jonathan Yellowhair, actually, he showed that picture. He works over at Gila River down south, and he goes, "Yeah, I went to I think it was a quinceañera or something or some party." And he's like, "You already know I hit that flan," and I don't know what he asked me next, and I was like, "I can't touch flan. I can't." I was like, "No." He's all, "Then who even are you?" I was like, "Hey, take it easy, all right? There's a lot of other desserts in our culture."
Yeah, I'm out on flan. I like
Can't.
I could eat creme brulee, which is essentially the same thing, but it's not
Mhm.
as jiggly. Like creme brulee doesn't jiggle the way flan jiggles, and I'm not into it.
Mm-mm. I feel so bad. I've tried many times. I'm like, maybe this is it. Maybe I'll suddenly turn more Mexican or Puerto Rican with this bite. And I'm like, I think I got a cavity, actually. I think
Could you imagine if that was the thing that made you more Puerto Rican or
I
Mexican? It
know.
was like the one scoop of
Maybe I'll get
flan.
the accent. It's like something shifts.
I love it. We're in the time of the year. Apple
Mhm.
spice or pumpkin spice?
Pumpkin
Apple cider,
spice.
pumpkin spice.
Mhm.
Why? Like I just want
I
I need to.
love pumpkin. I don't eat I can't I think it's because of my mom. Because when she would get it when I was a kid, I'd be like, "Why?" And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, "Oh, she put pumpkin on everything. Pumpkin spice in my grounds of coffee, pumpkin spice whipped cream, pumpkin spice latte." I have a can of pumpkin puree somewhere that I think I'm gonna do something with. I probably won't. I'm like, "It's the season."
I could never get behind it. Give me the apple cider all day long.
Mhm.
All right, two more for you before I let you go. Do you eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
I haven't in a long time. I eat them as a treat now. I grew
Okay.
up on a lot of sandwiches, so I had to cut myself off. Otherwise, I'll eat like 4 sandwiches a day. So
Yeah, I'm a huge PB&J guy. I love
love
them.
PB&J.
So when you make a PB&J, how do you make it? And I'll give you your options. Do you put peanut butter on one slice of bread and then the jelly on the same side as the peanut butter and then fold the bread over? Or do you go peanut butter on one slice, jelly on the other, and then smash them together?
I do this is a great question. We're right here because these are questions I ask people to figure out where I'm gonna put them in my friends' boxes and things. I actually do peanut butter both sides, and then I put jelly in, so it's like coated in the middle, and so I
Yeah,
put peanut butter, not too much jelly, because when there's too much jelly on the sandwich, it messes it up for me.
squeezes out everywhere. Your
It
hands get a
does, it's
mess.
all
Yeah.
messy. Mm-mm. I like that support system there for the jelly on the inside.
How do you cut it, or do you not cut it at all? Do you go two triangles, two rectangles, four triangles, or four squares?
Ooh, 2 triangles,
Two
2
triangles. I
triangles.
go I go four triangles if I'm really wanting to be nostalgic because that's how my mother used to
Ooh.
make it for me as a kid, and it was
Oh,
like fancy shit, right? I would eat my
yep,
peanut butter and jelly with the pinky up on my little finger sandwiches.
yep. That's true, that's true. Dang, I might have to do that soon. Post it up, like, feeling bougie.
That's it. And then make sure you have a Ferrero Rocher for dessert right
Yep.
there.
My box. That's reusable, the box is reusable too.
Yes.
I'm like, "Wow, I'm winning twice. I have something to put other random stuff in and
Yeah.
all these
Okay,
chocolates."
so you said the Puerto Rican side came from your father's side, but I'm wondering if the Native American and Mexican side does this too. So as a kid, we would go to Abuela's house and she would
Mhm.
have the butter cookies that were in the blue tin in the white thing, right? And then when you would go one day, all of a sudden it was fucking sewing equipment. You
Yep.
were like so disappointed.
Always. Oh my gosh. Same with the country crock butter things or any other Cool Whip containers. And I thought that's just what you did. And so as an adult, I have all these Tupperware. My partner's like, "What the fuck? Are we poor? We can't buy our own Tupperware?" I'm all, "It's reusable. Why would we buy more when we have it right here?"
My dad would have fucking nails and screws in the fucking Cool Whip. Like,
Yeah.
why? Like, just go to the shop and put it in a regular box, dude.
Yeah.
Like, why is it in the Cool Whip container? I don't understand. They would have that shit everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm, I'm glad it wasn't just our family then.
No. No, and I remember those butter cookies that I thought were like the bee's knees as a
Oh,
kid, and I
so
don't
good.
even know where to buy them actually.
I
Like,
have
if
no
there's
idea
some
where.
secret abuela restaurant, like if they go in and they look at the register lady and go like
Yeah,
this, and then they pull it out from underneath the register. Like, "We only have 2 left here."
yeah. As long as one of them isn't filled with sewing equipment
I
shit,
know.
I'm all right.
Oh my
Last
gosh.
question for you.
Mhm,
Tray of brownies has come out of the oven. It's been enough time for it to cool down, but still warm. Are
mhm.
you going corner piece, edge piece, or into the middle for the ooey gooey?
Corner piece.
Yes.
Yeah, I love a good corner piece.
Yeah.
It's great for logistics purposes,
Yes.
holding,
Yes.
get the gooey, but then you take a bite of the crusty part to kind of balance it out. Because when it's
Yes.
too gooey, it's, like, just messy or texture. I think texture is a big thing for me. It's the
100%.
perfect piece. It's the perfect piece.
So are you fighting relatives when the lasagna comes out and that same corner spot is there on the lasagna?
I try not to be rude and, like, jump in line, but I'll be watching all close from the back already, waiting on how fast I'm gonna go pick it up so I don't spend too much time. Or I'll make sure at least 2 or 3 people are ahead of me because there's 4 corners, so I'm like, if
Yeah.
there are other corner people, then I'll
Yeah.
just get the last one and I won't be considered rude if I take it.
That's right. It's the best part because that noodle gets super crunchy, but then you have the
Mhm.
middle part that's creamy. Ah, it's the best. Mariah, you have been so much fun to chat with today. Thank you so much for coming on our show. I really appreciate you.
Hey, Chiokwe Desia, Jason, thank you. And
We'll
make
see
sure you
you.
guys follow, support, subscribe. There's some good content on here.
Thank you. I'll
Okay.
talk to you soon.
Have a good one.
For those of you who have been able to hang out with us for about an hour and 15 minutes, thank you so much. Time is the greatest gift that we can give to each other, and you've just given me the gift of your time. So thank you. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. If you're using Spotify or YouTube to listen and watch the show, make sure you comment as well. I know every single podcaster out there asks you this, and they'll tell you it really helps. But trust me when I tell you it really does help. So make sure you comment, subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on the next Fireside Chat. See ya.